We're going to start taking this brake assembly apart by taking off the return springs. The spring is on top of this one, so I'm going to take this one off first. I'm going to use this end of the tool here, the hollow end, that's for taking the springs off. This end is for putting them back on. So I'm just going to put that right over there, turn it, pop the spring off. Same thing on the other side, pop that spring off. And off camera here you can't see it, but I'm keeping my parts in order on the bench. Next thing, I'm just going to push down my adjuster paw, remove the link, remove my little pyramid spring. It's wide in the bottom and narrow on the top. Remove the parking brake strut. And now I'm going to use my hold down tool to remove the hold down springs. Got those parts. And then the same thing on the other side. And then this is just going to come right off. Just like that. Here I have my parts laid out on a white sheet so you can more easily see them. When we disassemble it, there's a way to make this a little bit easier to hang the shoes. And what we need to do is we need to attach the forward and rear brake shoe along with the star wheel adjuster and the spring that connects the two together. So I'm going to show you that right now. I'm just going to move these parts off camera here. Normally I would move the brake shoes, of course, to keep this all making sense, but for us I'm just going to move those parts. And I'm going to start with these three things right here. The spring that lays on top of here should not touch the star wheel right here. So these two pieces should not touch. So if I have the spring on incorrectly, you can see it's laying right on there. So first step is going to be the orientation of my spring, which is going to be off the star wheel adjuster. The adjuster paw has to hit the teeth of the star wheel adjuster. The star wheel adjuster, the teeth are going to face the rear of the car. So I'm going to take my spring, hook it into my brake shoe just like that. I'm going to take my other brake shoe and hook it in. Now I'm going to get ready to put my star wheel adjuster in just like this. So I'm going to tip the brake shoes apart at the bottom and together at the top. Line up the slots here, so there's little slots in the adjuster just like that. Loop them together just like that. And as you will see in a minute, when I hang them onto the assembly, these go right together. So star wheel adjuster, I call this a connector spring, the front brake shoe and the rear brake shoe. And then you just tip them up and just set them right on your backing plate. And that's how I would set that up. So for reassembly, I'm just going to hang the shoes right on there just like that. Got my hold down pins here. Just like that. I'm going to take my hold down tool here and I'm going to line up this slot with that one right there. Just like that. Hold it in my finger. I'm going to push it over with my hold down pin here and I'm going to line up the slot with the pin. I'm going to push it on there and just turn it 90 degrees. And I can see I have a nice looking X right in there to make sure that's in good. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. I got my adjuster paw and then this little dish need to go on first. And I'm going to have my green spring on this side. Yellow spring goes on the right, or on my right in this case, but the yellow spring goes on the front shoe. And the green spring is going to go on the rear shoe. Do the same thing. Put it on there, turn it 90 degrees, and just double check it. Alrighty, I like that. I'm going to take my link here. I'm going to slide it over just like that and hook it around my adjuster paw. Okay. My adjuster paw spring I'm going to put in place just like the pyramids of Egypt. It has to be wide on the bottom and narrow at the top, so that's the direction I'm going to put it in. No tool needed, just got to push it in place like that. Now I'm going to put on my return spring on my rear shoe on this side here. I'm going to hook it right into the hole there. And I'm going to use this end of the tool right here just to pry that on. So I'm going to hook it on my little ball stud there. Snap it right into place. Now I've only got two parts left, a return spring and the parking brake strut. The parking brake strut, as you can see, is different from left to right. And if I flip it around this way, you see a little different there, and then if I flip it this way, it's going to be different again. So it's really important that this get put in the correct spot, and in this case the orientation is going to be just like this. And this is going to be my second to last part I put in. I'm going to spread the brake shoes, put that in place just like that, and it should be loose when I'm done. So if this is tight, you have it in incorrectly. Take my second return spring, put it onto the tool here. I'm going to pop that on just like that. Now I can tell if this is repaired correctly or assembled correctly just by a few things. The green spring goes on the side with the adjuster's paw. The yellow spring goes on the front shoe with the short lining. This spring is not touching my star wheel adjuster. The pyramid is in wide in the bottom, narrow at the top. The parking brake strut is loose in there. Normally on a customer car there'd be a spring in this section here holding it tight because you don't want that to rattle going down the road, but we don't have those springs anymore, so it should be loose. The return springs are on top of this little piece here and over the stud. My brake shoes are touching the anchor pin at the top, and those are all indications that I have this assembled correctly. And again, this is a dual servo brake shoe because it moves just like that right there at the bottom.